Well, today as we get close to the end of chapter 6 of the Gospel according to Luke, we see Jesus continue his teaching on forgiveness, on mercy, and on judgment. We see here a nice little parable. I think everyone's familiar. This is a very famous parable about the wooden beam and the splinter. I'd like to point out two things. The first is the juxtaposition between the splinter and the wooden beam. One's very large, one's very small. When I was a young kid, I had one of my best friends in the whole entire world. I'd go sleep over at his house a lot, especially during the summertime. And sometimes I'd spend almost a week at one of my friend's house. And after spending a week constantly with this friend, normally the same thing would happen over and over again. We'd be happy to see each other at the beginning, and then a couple days in, we'd start to get aggravated with each other. We'd start to get upset at each other. And then there would be some kind of argument, blow up, and then I'd go back home. And my friend, being a very forgiving and loving friend, sometimes we'd have a blow up, I'd go home, and that night he would call me to come back and sleep over at his house. Because to him, the argument, the blow up, wasn't as big as it was to me. You see, his splinter in his eye wasn't as big as the wooden beam in my own eye. Sometimes the arguments or the problems that we think we have it with each other, sometimes they mean more to some people than others. And sometimes that's an indication of things that maybe we should let go. Little problems or little concerns that we have, sometimes they're meaningless. So maybe we need to let go of those things. The second is the wooden beam itself. You see, the real translation here is the tree growing in your own eye. And this is Jesus echoing back to his teaching on the tree that will bear good fruit and the tree that will bear bad fruit. You see, a healthy tree bears good fruit and an unhealthy tree bears bad fruit. So when we go, this is a thing here of the difference, the teaching and the difference between fraternal correction and judgment. You see, the difference is really just love. When we fraternally correct someone, we do it out of love. We do it out of charity. So our heart is in a disposition of love. When we judge people, we don't do it out of love or charity. We do it out of malice or spite. And that's the main difference between fraternal correction and love. So what we need to do, and in my own life, we are a very close-knit seminarian crew. So all the seminarians that study for this diocese, we meet normally twice a week. We discuss all our problems, discuss all our issues. We try to keep up with each other's lives as best we can. But there are certain people that I know that I can't fraternally correct. Not because I don't love them in some ways, but because when I fraternally correct them with my personality and their personality, it doesn't really match. So if I see something, I'll tell another seminarian in our diocese, I'll say, hey, it might be good if you talk to this guy about this, because they know each other a little bit better. They can fraternally correct him. And so that sometimes it might be better. The incompatibility of fraternal correctness sometimes need to be there. And we need to have the wisdom to understand when we need to tell somebody something and maybe when we need to ask someone else to tell them something. There's a difference between fraternal correction and judgment. And so today, let us ask for the wisdom, the strength, the guidance to know what to hold on to and what not to, what to let go of and what to keep safe in regard, what we need to bring up and what we don't need to bring up. Because Christ wants us to be true disciples. Christ wants us to love each other as he loves the Father himself.